So, welcome to another edition of the Membership World podcast. And I'm delighted to have with me Tony Ryan, who is the CEO of the Design and Technology Association, somebody I met recently at one of our roadshows. And I was really struck by what Tony has actually done in his organization and how he's engaged his members, not just through corporate and business, but also through the educational establishment. And I thought, let's talk about this in detail on the show. So, Tony, it's lovely to have you with us today.
Great to be here, Gordon. Thank you for inviting me on.
Now, so before we get into the weeds of the association, you didn't start in the membership sector because I know you started as a teacher, didn't you? So just give us a little bit of background on yourself, if you may.
Yeah, absolutely. Spectacularly unsuccessful at school. Couldn't wait to get out, which is a weird thing for a ex-head teacher to say. But yeah, I left at 16, became a car mechanic. Absolutely love that. Everything that I did as a car mechanic proved that I wasn't half as thick as school made me feel. And took every qualification that I could get in engineering. Was promised that I would then be moved up into management if I got a management cert, which I did. I took 1 day of my holiday every week for a year to do a course. And at the end of the course, they said, "You're too valuable to us on the shop floor. I'm afraid you're going to have to wait another couple of years." And I was young and impetuous, so it was like, no, I'm not waiting a couple of years. I'm out of here. So I left with a view that I needed a degree. And then it was the Inner London Education Authority were offering to pay me to do a degree. And I thought, you're going to give me a salary. I got used to a car. I got used to going out at the weekend. So a little bit of money in my pocket was something I was used to. So yeah, I had no intention of staying in teaching. But the first time I got in front of a class full of kids was in a school in East London. And it was the longest, scariest hour of my life. But at the end of it, a student walked out the door, 15 years old, and she went, "Yeah, you're all right. You're quite good at this." And it was like an Oscar. And it was like, yeah, I'm going to stay and I'm going to carry on doing this. So that's kind of where it was. And 34 years later, I accidentally found myself a head teacher. So I was a head of 2 London comprehensives for just over 12 years.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so when was the move into the association then?
The association was 8 years ago. I'm just over 8 years in post now. And it was a job that really kind of came looking for me. I wasn't looking for it. But it was heart ruling head in many respects, because this was the subject that brought me into teaching. This is something that I really, really cared about, and the subject was struggling. And so you're in that nice position that you can ask as many questions as are asked of you at interview, because to be honest, I wasn't really that bothered whether I got the job or not. I kind of wanted it, but at the same time, not on any terms. There were certain things that I felt had to change. But yeah, it's the last 8 years of no regrets whatsoever. I've absolutely loved it.
Great. So tell us a little bit more now about the organization and the structure.
Yeah, a little bit of background, first of all, I guess would be useful. I mean, the association has been around, it's founded in 1989. Its sole purpose, really, back in the day and still now, was to look after design and technology as a subject nationally. And we were a subject that was transitioning from what was, people my age would remember it as woodwork, metalwork, and technical drawing and
I remember it
handicraft
well.
when they were at school. And that was our origin. But around the sort of late 90s, 2000, a huge design element came into the subject, and there was a lot of change. We were the first country in the world to make design and technology a compulsory subject up to the age of 16 for all students, which was groundbreaking. And at our peak, we had 430 odd thousand students doing GCSE and 26,000 doing A level. So The association was involved in all of that and supported all of that. And in recent years, it's been the opposite picture, really. And this is not a political statement at all, but the last government had subjects that it felt were academic, and we weren't one of them. And in fact, not many creative subjects were, if I'm really honest. And creative subjects were sort of put on one side. And I was told by one former cabinet minister, that if you want to do design and technology, you do an after-school club. It really shouldn't be on the national curriculum. So we were fighting against that in recent years. Our numbers now, just to give you an idea of the effect that sort of mindset has had on our subjects, we've gone from 430,000 and world leading down to 79,000, and we've just about bottomed out now, and we're starting to turn around and go up again. When I joined the association, we had 8,700 members. And when I checked this morning, we've got 26,000. So there's been a bit of a transition there, and that was part of my job coming in. The other bit was we were losing money. And as you'll know, as any membership organisation, you can lose money for a short while if you've got some reserves, but you can't keep doing it year on year. So my other job was to turn that around and at least break even. We're not here to make money, but we're here to make a difference and to break even.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you. So let's have a look at the different types of membership, because you've got a lot, and it's not just individual, but you've got corporate members. So can you just detail a little bit about the different types and how, and those personas as well?
We've got a lot. We've got a lot less than we once had. When I joined, we had 31 different types of membership, and I was saying when I first took over, there was 31 different types of membership, and that was crazy. That was just madness, because if I was a member coming in, it would take me half an hour to work out what membership band I was going to go into. So we cut it down to, I think it was 9 different types for schools. And then we've added a couple in for business and industry as well. So roughly with the schools, we're looking at individual members. A lot of schools will not pay for membership for their teachers. So the teachers have to pay for it themselves. So we've got to keep that as low as possible. But that's still got to be an option, so as individual teachers can pay and be members of us. Where we really want to be is for schools to take membership, and we've got primary and secondary, 2 completely different offers. So you have to have a primary membership bracket and a secondary membership bracket. And then recently we've added industry as well, because we've leaned heavily into working with industry and joining the worlds of education and industry up a bit. Most of our corporate members sell to schools, so they got a product that they were trying to sell into D&T departments. That's a very, very low financial offer to come in. It's not a huge amount of money. And we've got a number of those that work with us in order to try to, we basically give them the reach into schools, and then they do the business from there. And then from the next level up is Blueprint membership, and with Blueprint it's just under £4,000. And most of the people coming in there have got a job that they want to do. They want to expand design. They want to raise their profile within education for one reason or another. And we've got, I think, 23 of those at the moment that are on the books. And now we're moving to another place entirely, which is we're looking at business and industry to sponsor an area for us, so as we can bring up to 1,700 schools in one go into membership with business support. So we're about to launch that as well. So yeah, it's constantly evolving, constantly changing.
And I noticed you've got an overseas membership, isn't it? And I was intrigued to find that. Why is that? Why have you got an overseas membership?
We have a lot of British teachers. When we weren't so in demand in the UK, and the government didn't really rate the subject in the UK, there were countries all over the world that really rate the training that UK teachers get. So we have a number of expat teachers teaching in Singapore, Hong Kong, Dubai, Malaysia, a number of different countries. So we support those as well as best we can.
No, great. Oh, that's fantastic. And so, in terms of creating different benefits, what are the sorts of things that teachers would typically get by being members of your organization?
Again, I'll go back to it's a very, very different offer for primary school members than it is for secondary. With primary school, you have got the majority of teachers, they haven't got any STEM background at all: science, technology, engineering, maths. Most of them are humanities teachers, so they have to teach our subject because it's a national curriculum subject, but they're well out of their comfort zone. So they're looking for their hand to be held. And what's great about most primary teachers, first of all, I don't know how they do it. 13 different subjects you got to teach. I mean, I only taught 2 when I was at school, and that was hard enough. But 13, I don't know how you do it. But we need to give them the materials. We need to tell them, and the big bit is really breaking it down so as it doesn't look like a mountain that they can't climb. So we try and make it as easy as possible. At secondary, it's a different ball game. Most of the teachers, and there is a caveat to that, which I'll come to in a moment, but most of the teachers are trained in our subject, so they therefore are quite comfortable with the subject. But they're short of time. So what they need is they need support in certain areas. They need resources, less and less actually, as AI comes into its own. I would say that's a receding line income stream for us. And there's also a big lobbying piece as well, that, you know, if we want those numbers to go up from 79,000 to 130, which is where I think they should be, then I spend a lot of my time in Westminster as well, working on behalf of teachers, making sure that MPs and Lords really get the subject and understand that it's changed very much from when they were at school, most of them.
And I think you run competitions, don't you, as well, to create some excitement in the sector. You were telling me before where you've got some partnerships with people like Samsung, which I guess is hugely motivational for the children.
That's very much Samsung's competition. It's been going internationally for a number of years now. And they approached us. They value design and technology. They said that the creativity that it brings into their workforce is something that they've noticed. And they wanted to work with us really to try to get. The problem with any competition is state schools are so pressed for time that teachers might want to do them, but you've got to fit it in the curriculum somewhere along the line. You've got maybe an hour and a half every week where you see the students. You have such a load of content that you've got to teach. And then on top of it, I'd love to do a competition, but I haven't got time. Whereas the independent sector, smaller class sizes, sometimes 8, 12, compared to 30 in mainstream schools. More time on the curriculum and more time after school as well, where the students will come back. So the danger with running a national competition is that you will get students from a certain type of school only coming into that competition. And what the likes of Samsung and others want is that they want people from all walks of life to come into those competitions, from all social backgrounds. So that was our job, really, was to try to broaden this a little bit more. Make it, I mean, it's a great competition. It's very easy to enter, and it allows students of all abilities, all backgrounds to enter and to get a chance of winning some incredible prizes. I mean, the main prize is your design will be on Piccadilly Circus, on the major billboards on Piccadilly Circus.
Really? Really?
Wow. They're going to put the winning designs up there for the best part of a week. So, you know, if you're winning that competition and you're 15 years old, you'll be able to stand there with your family and see your stuff on billboard, which will be amazing.
Absolutely. So how do you recruit teachers? What is your sort of recruitment strategy like? Where do you find that it most comes from?
I'm smiling because that's changed so much. I think when I joined, there was pretty much a hard sell, and a hard sell doesn't work with teachers. It works for a short period of time. People will join, they'll get what they want from the association, then they'll walk away fairly quickly. And what we wanted to do was to change that to something where people saw that we were working on their behalf and saw us as a companion rather than somebody that was selling hard to them. And that's taken time.
Rather than a them and us, it's a partnership approach.
Well, it is. I mean, I'm still a teacher at heart, and when you look at it that way, you think, well, part of what we were doing just didn't make sense. So if I'm a teacher in the classroom at primary, I want resources that are going to enable me to teach this subject without me spending all weekend planning my lesson. If I'm a secondary teacher, I want to know that somebody, me mostly, is there in Westminster banging the drum for the subject and making sure that we are recognised and that the numbers are growing and that we're safe, and therefore their job is safe. So that lobbying side of it, I think, is really important. But also the pedagogy of where we are and where we want to be is really important. So we've moved from a subject that was all about making to a subject now that is pretty much about the way that you think, the way that you problem solve, the way that you design. So teachers need help to move in that direction. I could give you some really good examples of that, but teachers do want examples, best practice shown to them so as they can emulate it in their schools.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. What does the sort of future plans look like for the organization? What would you love to see happen in the next few years? I noticed that you said that you were in Westminster a lot. There's it's like changing rooms, isn't it? There's so much going on the political stage. In fact, even getting airtime with some of these politicians is probably quite challenging at the best of things. Where do you see the sort of future of the profession?
You can't wait for it to happen is the main message, Gordon. I mean, if you sit and you think that conversations with MPs are going to make a blind bit of difference to where the subject is nationally, you're kind of fooling yourself. They're important, but that isn't going to change the subject. What changes the subject is actually getting out there and doing it. And what we're looking to do now, and we'll be launching fairly soon, is that we are looking for industry to sponsor us, and that sponsorship will allow us to bring, so if I put numbers on it, in one region that we're about to launch in, 1,700 schools, primary and secondary, will get free membership of the association as a result of local business and industry. Now, business and industry will have their name all over that, but it means that what we can do is we can raise all of those schools, the quality of what they're doing, the profile of what they're doing. We can raise all of that. And if we can do that successfully in one region, we then move to the next region, to the next. We've mapped out 15 different regions across the UK that over the course of the next 4 to 5 years, we want to move to each of those in turn. And by the end of that, we should have somewhere in the region of 50,000, 60,000 teachers that are working with us. And we'll be making a real difference to where the subject sits nationally. So it's a big picture thing. It's a little scary when you look at the big thing, the whole thing, but it's also really exciting. And what's great is the way that industry is warming to it, and industry actually sees itself as having a role here.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I always say nothing galvanizes a membership, a charity, or a union more than a mission and impact. It's not just about helping an association for association's sake. It's when you get all of the stakeholders involved in wanting to change things for the greater good, if you will. Well done, Tony. It sounds like there's some really exciting things going on, and thank you so much for sort of sharing your thoughts about what you're doing, where the industry is going, and the profession as a whole. So if anybody wants to follow you or find out more, how can they do that?
I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably the main place that I post these days. And our website is designtechnology.org.uk, so you can find what we're doing on there. But yeah, LinkedIn, Tony Ryan on LinkedIn, and you'll find me on there.
Great stuff. Well, thank you so much again for joining us on the Membership World podcast. And so until next time, from me, Gordon Glenister, your host, it's bye for now.